We're here today on Country Pocket with Larry McCray. The new album is Heartbreak City. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be a good man. Uh, I love the way that that particular song starts the album because I feel like that just sort of sets up everything, that you're singing from the perspective of someone who's trying to do right.
Trying to be a good man, huh? Yeah. Well, that song, I've had that song. We had that song about 25 years ago. And we recorded it. We made a demo of the song and it didn't make any projects. And so I just thought that this time around that we would try it again. And so Joe heard the song and they were agreeable to make a recording. So it made the recording project, and I was really quite happy about that. Me and another musician friend of mine, Charlie Walmsley, have been friends for over 30 years and writing and doing stuff for 30 years, and it's one of the songs that we had years ago.
Yeah, I think people need to hear a message like that. I think maybe people either aren't trying or think they have to be perfect. And you have some basic advice: pay attention, don't hold her back. Uh, do you think most women would be happy with the criteria you set out for being a good man there?
I hope so, but you know what? My girl said, "Well, if you got to try so damn hard," she took it and turned it around on me, because it said you don't have to give her everything, you don't have to do all these things, but give her your heart, give her your mind, show some respect, and always be kind. So it gives a double perspective. So she was like, "Well, I don't know if I like that song," but I told her, I said, it's all about trying to do the right thing. She said, "Well, why you got to try? Why you can't just do it?" So it was the same thing that you made mention of. It's not a perfect world, but I thought that that was a very good way to express it from both sides and give each one an alternative. You have an option. You know what I'm saying? You can do all these other things, but to the contrast, you have an option to do the right thing. And I thought it was fitting. I thought it was a good scenario and a good way to express your endearment for your girlfriend. I thought so. Might not be perfect, baby, but I'm trying to be a good man.
Yeah, so that song comes from the first act of your career. This album very much comes from the second. Tell me about sort of getting back out there and trying again and getting Joe behind you.
Oh man. Well, you know what? I left my job when I was 30 years old, but I had been playing for 10 years before that. I had been going on the road since my early 20s. Well, I'm 65 years old now. And, my body is not the same. I'm going through some spinal stenosis issues, and I got bulging disc in my back from, all the years on the road, all the bad travel, man. But I'm still very enthusiastic about playing. I'm still very excited to play. I love still going on the road. It's just a little bit more difficult right now. So I'm gonna have to have a back surgery between now and sometime by New Year's. I hope by New Year's I can get in and make it happen. I'm just praying for a good surgery and good recovery. But the music tastes as good as it always has. I don't feel no different about playing than I did when I was 30. I still love it.
Well, that's the key. You've gained a new songwriting partner. How has Peggy changed the way you are as an artist?
Well, actually, Peggy changed my whole life because um, I was married for about almost 20 years. And from that marriage is the result of my son. I have one son. But long story short, I had a very unpleasant and tumultuous marriage. And when she came into my life, it was the best thing ever happened to me on a social tip as far as me and my relationship with women. She's the best thing ever happened to me. And the fact that we love each other and have all this life experience. I mean, music songs just utter from this woman. She just says all these things, and it's easy for me to put music to it. So I think we make a good team.
Yeah, obviously there, you know, some of the details from your first marriage wound up being publicized. How do you pick your head up, look on the bright side, and try again after all that? Like, you know, I've been burnt before, and I'm hesitant to go back to that stove, you know?
Right. Well, you know what? The only things that keeps you going is life itself. Life don't until your life end, you have to try to live. And so, with that being said, I look at it as not having a choice. The only choice you have is that you can either approach it already defeated, or you can approach it with the fact of saying that, hey, I'm still capable and I'm still alive and I'm going to beat this situation, whatever it is, that's an obstacle. You got to believe that you can conquer. And that's the way I believe. That's the way I was taught, no matter how bad it may look and how stacked the odds are against you, you got to always believe that you can conquer and that you will conquer. And that's the spirit that keeps me going.
You have a very upbeat attitude for a blues man.
I owe it to my parents, to my mom and dad, because I was born in 1960 in a place called Smackover, Arkansas, and it was like being born in any woods. It was no facilities, no running water, no heat, no electricity. It was all rustic. It was like living, close to 100 years behind your time. But coming from that environment like that really gave me a lot of grit. We I left there in 72. And 1972 was the first time I ever lived in a place that had lights, had water, all the convenience of modern living. So I mean, when you are forced to live in a less favorable environment, when you do get in a situation that better, you have a lot of appreciation and you know how to embrace the positive things and the bright side of life. And that's what hard time teaches you that.
Wow. Wow. 1960 Arkansas, in more ways than one. Well, well before our time. Uh,
I went through school integration, the whole thing. I went to a totally segregated school in elementary until I was in the fourth grade. And then in the fourth grade, we were forced to merge. They bus black kids from my school to the white school, and they bus white kids from their school to our school, and that was segregation, or integration. And it was a very tense time. Black people were trying to stand up and be recognized and say the motto was say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. I am somebody. These are the type of things that when we were little kids that they were instilling into us as children, because prior to that, black people in this country, pretty much so had to hold their head down, and you couldn't be too proud or you couldn't be too boisterous about your situation because it would bring a lot of recourse. You could suffer a lot of bad things, from that. And so I won't continue on this, but I also went to school at a time after when we would see the kids that we went to school with on the weekend, we couldn't speak to them children, kids that I went to school with every day. And so when we would see each other in the store, my friend would look at me and I would look at him and we would make eye contact and we make sure we acknowledge that we saw each other. But when we come back to school on that Monday, It would be like, "Hey, I saw you at the store. Yeah, I saw you too." You know. But that's the way it was. We as children, the children didn't have a problem with each other, but it was a lot of the old ways and the bad ways that the parents were still teaching that had to be overcome. And so, in that respect, I've seen a lot of progress in this country. Just up until recently, it seemed like that recently that we have been forced to try to go back. They like the government want to push us back into those things. But I think that love and the respect for human right, for human life and all that stuff. I think the majority of people are past all this stuff, and I don't think that those ways will prevail. I think that we will eventually come back to a better and a more peaceful and understanding way that we deal with each other, and that's definitely my hopes. I hope that happens.
I hope so too. Like I said, optimistic for a bluesman. We're gonna hear Bright Side and we'll be right back.
Okay, right on.